If Niccolò Machiavelli were alive right now, he wouldn't be publishing books or speaking on stages. He wouldn't be posting inspirational quotes on Instagram or dropping thought leadership on LinkedIn. He wouldn't even bother tweeting. He'd be running kingdoms from the shadows. He'd be the quiet architect of power, the invisible man pulling strings so subtly the world would call it fate. In a culture obsessed with attention and applause, Machiavelli would win by absence, by opacity, by moving behind the curtain while others burn in the spotlight. Today, I'm going to show you how he'd do it, not through maxims, but through practice, not through catchy lines, but through strategy. Here are 21 psychological laws of quiet domination based on what Makaveli would do if he walked among us today. Men judge by appearances, not by intentions. Control what they see, and you quietly govern what they do. That's where it begins. Rule 1. Let them underestimate you. Machiavelli understood the safest power is the one hidden from sight. In an era where everyone is desperate to prove their brilliance, flash credentials, shout their victories, and flex their dominance, he would move opposite. He'd walk into the room last, not first. He'd listen before he spoke. He'd speak only when no one expected him to, saying what no one else dared to voice. And that is how you seize a room without announcing yourself invisibly until it's too late. Let them think you're harmless. Let them think you're small. Let them believe you pose no threat, because when they see no danger, they drop their guard completely. And that's when you strike from angles they never prepared for. Rule 2. Charm over truth. In a society addicted to optics, the truth rarely spreads, images do. Reputation travels faster than reality. Machiavelli knew people accept what they see you to be. Very few get close enough to know what you really are. That's why he wouldn't waste his time defending his honesty or proving his integrity. He'd invest in shaping illusions. He'd smile across the table while planting misdirection. He'd lull opponents with compliments, feed them false confidence, and disarm them through warmth. The game is not to be good, it's to be believed as good. Stop trying to correct people's perceptions. Exploit them. Let them cast you as the hero while you quietly write a different ending. Rule 3. Manufacture ambiguity. Most people crave being understood. Machiavelli would choose to be unfathomable, cold one day, generous the next, sometimes silent, sometimes cutting, not out of confusion but to confuse them. Ambiguity breeds obsession. Obsession breeds focus, and focus gives you influence. When people can't define you, they start studying you. They read meaning into your silence. They analyze your smallest movements. You're no longer just a person, you're a riddle, and riddles become fixations. Machiavelli knew the ones you control most are the ones who think about you the most. So stop over-explaining, stop clarifying, leave gaps, speak in codes, smile when asked questions you don't answer. Confusion sparks curiosity, and curiosity draws them into your gravity. Rule 4. Display the output, conceal the input. In a world of oversharing, Machiavelli would move like a shadow. Everyone is building personal brands, showing receipts, documenting every step. But the moment they see how you move, they start planning counter moves. They form alliances, weave stories, lay traps. He'd do the opposite. He'd appear transparent while keeping his real mechanics invisible. Public results, private processes. Appear noble, act ruthlessly, show the surface, never the structure. Don't reveal your strategies. Don't brag about systems. Don't announce your moves until they're finished. Let them think you're slow, distracted, resting, then pass them quietly while they're still looking the other way. Rule 5. Build a mask, then crack it. Perfection is forgettable. Flaws are magnetic. Machiavelli would cultivate a mask of calm, confidence, composure, intelligence, but at chosen moments, he'd let it fracture, a calculated flash of anger, a glimpse of vulnerability, a subtle moment of unpredictability. Why? Because people don't obsess over what they fully understand. They obsess over what feels just out of reach. Show them 90% of yourself and let the final 10% vanish behind the curtain. They'll spend years chasing it. Be the light, then show the darkness. Let them glimpse the abyss, then close the door. You'll be unforgettable not because they loved your mask, but because they saw it slip and can't stop wondering what's behind it. Rule 6. Speak less than you could. Too much talk is a confession of weakness, of fear, of hunger for validation. The one who speaks with precision and stops before revealing too much controls the room. Machiavelli's words weren't blankets. They were blades. In a negotiation, a conflict, a moment of tension, he'd say 1 or 2 sentences, then stop. The silence would do the rest. Because silence makes people project. They start thinking, what does he know? Why isn't he reacting? What's next? You've said nothing, but they've built a story in their heads, and you're the villain they can't predict. Power speaks exactly enough, not to satisfy, not to impress, to control the rhythm of thought. Say less, then stop. Let them lean in, let them sweat. Real mystery lives in the spaces between words. Rule 7. Blur the line between threat and ally. We live in an age obsessed with clarity. Who's safe? Who's dangerous? Who's on whose side? Machiavelli would never give that comfort. He'd break bread with enemies, compliment rivals publicly, defend people he planned to replace. When people think you're dangerous, they brace for attack. But when they think you're neutral, they sleep. And the best time to move is when they're asleep. The lion can't spot traps, and the fox can't fight wolves. You must be both. Compliment your enemy just before you undercut them. Agree with the critic just before you remove them. Play passive until your absence becomes a weapon. Be warm, be supportive, be disarming until you move. By then it's too late. Rule 8. Make them feel safe before you strike. You don't win by fighting people head-on. You win by making them believe you're no threat. Mirror their language, praise their ideas. Disagree softly, let them feel like they're guiding you. Then, when they're sure you're harmless, you act decisively, quickly, cleanly. By the time they realize what happened, you're already in their seat. People are ruled by their immediate needs. Deception feeds on that. Tell them what they want to hear. Show them what they want to see. Take what they never dreamed you'd touch, smiling all the while. Rule 9. Create dependence, then withdraw. Threats are crude. Dependence is invisible. Machiavelli wouldn't intimidate you. He'd help you. He'd solve problems no one else would. Teach you things no one else could. Become irreplaceable without ever asking for credit. Then he'd disappear, not in anger, but in silence, because nothing unravels someone faster than losing the thing they thought they'd always have. That's how you become unforgettable, by being the necessity they didn't realize they'd built their stability on. Create a void, make them lean on you, then pull your hand away mid-step. They won't hate you, they'll hate their own need for you, and they'll chase that absence for years. Rule 10. Turn favors into weapons. Most people give help to be liked. Machiavelli would give help to gain leverage. If he gave you something, he'd never need to demand repayment. You'd feel it. An invisible imbalance. A quiet debt you can't pay off. He'd offer shortcuts, solutions, advantages, then pull back slightly. Not asking for anything, just letting the imbalance ache until you start paying him back in loyalty, favors, information, or silence. And if you forget, he'd remind you gently. A subtle "remember when" is enough to make someone realize you own a piece of their pride. Properly used, favors become invisible chains. The longer they sit unacknowledged, the heavier they become. Rule 11. Bind people by complicity, not kindness. True loyalty isn't bought with generosity. It's forged in shared risk. Machiavelli knew the best way to anchor someone to you is to let them compromise themselves on your behalf. You don't push them. You leave the door ajar. Let them tell you something they shouldn't. Let them break a small rule in your favor. Let them badmouth someone to win your approval. Once they cross that line voluntarily, they're tied to you not by admiration, but by entanglement. People protect what they've compromised for. The more they invest, the less they can afford to lose you. Rule 12. Break alliances from within. Machiavelli didn't just outmaneuver individuals. He dissolved entire networks, not by attack, by erosion. He'd infiltrate alliances quietly, plant small doubts, tiny misalignments. I'm not saying anything, but have you noticed how she never defends you? That's all it takes. You don't destroy the alliance. You let their own fear of betrayal destroy it for you. Trust breaks, and the structure collapses without you lifting a hand. Rule 13. Mirror their insecurities. Want someone to obey without realizing it. Make them feel seen, but only in ways that echo their self-doubt. Not insults, not overt criticism. Soft, perfectly timed remarks. You're so brave, especially for someone who's not used to the spotlight. You always push through, even when people don't take you seriously. These comments anchor you as the person who gets them, and once you're that person, they attach, they defer, they start moving under your emotional pull. Fear and insecurity do more than threats ever will, because threats activate defense. Subtle validation of their wounds activates dependence. This is how Machiavelli would move in 2025. Not loud, not visible, not obvious. In a culture addicted to showing, he would win by hiding. He would study first, then act. He would create mystery, then gravity. He would appear to be what people wanted to see, while quietly taking what they didn't guard. And when the dust settled, they wouldn't even know it was him. Insecurity is the gate that opens itself. And once you step through it, you don't need to knock again. You've already taken residence inside their mind. And from there, every other voice fades. Rule 14. Never grip the blade yourself. Machiavelli lived by one golden axiom: the true master never swings the sword. In every betrayal, every removal, every decisive act of ruthlessness, he would engineer the stage, but keep his own hands spotless. He'd never be seen as the one who cut ties, only the one who filled the vacuum afterward. He wouldn't push someone off the cliff. He'd let them stumble after a whisper, a nudge of suggestion, a moment of engineered chaos. Rivalries wouldn't be fought head-on. He'd let his enemies collapse under their own mistakes while he stood untouched. If blood had to be spilled, others would do it, believing it was their choice. That is the genius, the illusion of purity, while everything burns because of your design. Suspicion might linger, but suspicion is powerless against the evidence of clean hands. And by the time they guessed, he'd already be sitting on the throne the last man lost. Rule 15. Master silence. Let others choke on words. The loudest voice rarely carries the most strength. The true dominator is the one who absorbs without revealing, who watches while others reveal themselves. Silence isn't weakness. It's a blade cloaked as calm. In a modern world filled with endless noise, debates, commentaries, and podcasts, the one who speaks least becomes the one everyone watches most. Insults wouldn't draw him in. Demands for opinion wouldn't bait him. Questions would meet with a smirk. or a pause so long it forced the other to keep talking just to fill the vacuum. And the more they talk, the more they bleed information. Their intentions, their doubts, their fears spill freely, while he remains unreadable. Silence isn't absence, it's pressure. It makes them sweat, over-explain, and expose the very weaknesses you wanted to uncover. To win through deception, you don't out-talk, you outwait. And silence is the most elegant disguise for dominance. Rule 16. Predictability is death. Machiavelli wouldn't act like a madman, but he would never allow himself to be fully mapped. Routine is the leash others use to control you. If they know when you'll respond, they'll set the rhythm. If they know exactly how you react under pressure, they'll stage scenarios to trap you. If they know you'll always be merciful, they'll weaponize your kindness against you. His power came from being steady yet unreliable in crucial moments. Sometimes forgiving, sometimes vanishing, sometimes laughing in the face of provocation, sometimes saying nothing at all. The point wasn't chaos, it was fear born from uncertainty. People cannot defend against what they cannot predict. Love may inspire loyalty, but fear is born from doubt. And the one they cannot anticipate is the one they cannot prepare to resist. Rule 17. Presence that lingers in absence. Real psychological control isn't about being everywhere at once. It's about being felt, even when you're nowhere to be found. He would imprint himself so deeply into people's decision-making that his absence echoed louder than others' presence. Every choice would feel compared to his unseen standard. Every success would be shadowed by the question, what would he have done? Every alliance would feel weaker because his influence was missing. This isn't about branding in the shallow sense of content or image. It's about creating a permanent mental reference point, an internal authority they measure themselves against long after you've left. The effect? They obey rules you no longer even enforce. Machiavelli didn't need to fire people. He conditioned them to discipline themselves in his memory. Rule 18. Threats weaken power, suspicion strengthens it. Declaring danger breeds resistance. Announcing revenge gives them time to prepare. Machiavelli didn't announce. He let people imagine, and imagination is a sharper weapon than declaration. You don't say, "I'll ruin you." You leave the lie they told hanging in the air and let silence torture them. You don't say, "I'll end your career." You make a single call, then withdraw. You don't say, "You're finished." You disappear, and the unknown of what you're plotting does the work. Fear of the unseen corrodes faster than fear of the obvious. When someone doesn't know what you might do, they act cautiously, seeking your approval just to avoid learning the answer. And that kind of voluntary submission is stronger than any command. Rule 19. Patience makes revenge fatal. Quick retaliation satisfies the ego, but destroys leverage. Machiavelli believed injuries should be delivered suddenly, completely, and at the right moment, not in anger, but in orchestration. When wronged, he wouldn't react. He'd watch. He'd allow the offender to relax, to believe they had won. He'd let months pass, years even, while the seed of paranoia grew. And then, at the point of maximum complacency, he would strike. The punishment wasn't just in the blow, but in the waiting. They never enjoyed their victories because fear of his response lingered over them. They never slept deeply because the shadow of reprisal haunted every silence. When vengeance finally came, it wasn't just punishment, it was annihilation, total and absolute. Retaliation rushed is catharsis. Retaliation delayed is destiny. Rule 20. Become a structure, not an individual. Machiavelli never wanted to be merely admired. He wanted to be necessary. His brilliance wasn't in making himself charming, but in weaving himself into the machinery of power. The real move is to transform yourself from a person into a system, an idea embedded so deeply that removing you means dismantling the entire structure. Train others to think in your patterns. Spread your influence so wide that your absence paralyzes the machine. Make yourself the process, the method, the standard of operation. Leaders can be replaced, systems endure. When you're no longer just a man, but a framework they unconsciously depend on, your power becomes eternal. They may wish you gone, but they can't function without you. That's not influence, that's entrapment. Rule 21. Terror without a name. The highest form of control isn't being admired or even acknowledged. It's becoming the ghost that shapes decisions even when unspoken. Machiavelli wouldn't need trending hashtags or public recognition. His true victory would be becoming the presence no one dares to name directly. In hushed tones, they'd reference you as that one or you know who. People would warn others by invoking your shadow, not your name. You're not a figure, you're a force. You don't argue, you alter atmospheres. Your existence becomes a cautionary tale, an unseen deterrent. Mentioning you feels dangerous because even words are a form of summoning. That's not fame, that's haunting. And in haunting, your legacy becomes eternal. If Machiavelli walked in our world, he wouldn't compete for attention. He wouldn't chase followers. He wouldn't brand himself. He'd be buried deep in the systems that shape perception, invisible yet indispensable. He'd whisper in the corridors of power, smile in the spotlight while pulling wires in the dark, and vanish when credit came due. He wouldn't ask to be respected. He'd position himself so respect was a reflex. Not through noise, not through fame, through invisibility. And when the story of power was told, his name wouldn't appear because his influence would be too deep to separate from the story itself.